Hi 6th graders, today we're going to be taking a look at the length of measurement in the customary system. By the end of this lesson you want to be able to measure and convert units of length in the customary system. The nice thing about the customary system is that you are actually very familiar with it because the customary system refers to the system that we use to measure. So the first unit of measurement, or the smallest, would be an inch, which is abbreviated IN with a period afterwards. Now the reason that the inch is one of the units of measurements that has a period after it is so it doesn't look like the word in. So this is the unit of length, and then we're going to talk about the model. So the model kind of gives you like an idea of what is something of that size. So it would give you kind of a benchmark to work off of. So an inch is about the width of a quarter. So if you were ever somewhere and you needed to measure something that was an inch, you could actually take a quarter out of your pocket and use that. After an inch comes a foot, which we abbreviate FT, and that's the length of a large adult foot. Then comes a yard, which is YD, and that would be the length from a nose to a fingertip on kind of an adult guy. And then lastly, the biggest unit of measure would be a mile, which would abbreviate MI, and that's about 10 city blocks. So let's just look at some conversions. So most of you will know that 12 inches equal a foot, 3 feet is equal to a yard. A not so commonly one known is 1,760 yards is equal to a mile, but the more common one that we use is actually feet, which is 5,280 feet is 1 mile. These are all really helpful to know and just kind of memorize, because it's just going to help you down the road when you're doing conversions. Now I did include a ruler so we can kind of just talk about some of the different measurements. So if you look here, obviously our big line represents the inches. So we have 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch. Now in this particular ruler there is no 0 labeled, so we would assume that 0 comes at the very end of the ruler. Now when you're looking at the ruler, we kind of have to start breaking things down. So the next longest line, which is about halfway in between, would be the half-inch mark. So if you had a line segment that was right here, the measurement would be 1.5 inches. The next smallest, because it's a half of a half, becomes a fourth. So we have 1/4 and 3/4. And then on this particular ruler, the smallest ones are eighths. So really, if we're counting, this would be 0/8, this would be 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and 8/8 would be our 2 inches. Some rulers will actually go down all the way to the 16th, so you just have to be aware of what kind of ruler you are using. So now we're going to find the length of the line segment. I don't know if you can see it, but hopefully you notice that it's right here. So why don't you go ahead and pause the video, find the length of the line segment that I've drawn, and then I want you to try and draw a line segment that's 1 3/4 inches long, and then check your work. Alright, so if I'm finding the length of the line segment, if you notice I put it all the way at 0, so I'm going to follow it, and it goes down to about this third, this like longer line here. So if we do that, we know that here is 5 inches. So we have 5 1/4, 5 1/2, and so this would be about 5 3/4. So that line segment would be 5 3/4 inches long. Now we want to draw a line segment that is 1 3/4 inches long. So what you might want to do is kind of mark off where 1 3/4 is, which would be right here, and then we're going to draw our line segment from there back to 0. And I can't quite get back to 0 because of on the iPad the screen, but that gives you the basic idea that it's 1 3/4 long. So one thing we can do that we actually really commonly do is switch between units or convert between like inches, feet, miles, yards, and so forth. One useful way to do it is actually to look at doing it as a proportion. The way we can do that is we start out with what are we converting? We're converting yards and feet. So I know that 3 feet is the same as 1 yard. Proportionally, that has to be equal to, we want to know how many feet, so we're going to put the unknown on top and 9 yards on the bottom, because we want to know how many feet are equal to 9 yards. So if we're looking here, it's a little bit different than what we've done before. So we're just going to go ahead and do our cross products. So we have 3 times 9 has to equal 1 times x. 3 times 9 is, oops, not 30, is 27. So 27 is equal to x. So 9 yards are equal to 27 feet. Now you don't have to do it proportionally, that's just one way to think about it. So why don't you go ahead and pause the video and try the next ones on your own. So on the next one, we're looking at feet and inches. So I know that 12 inches is 1 foot. So proportionally, if someone is 5 feet tall, I want to know how many inches that is. So if I do my cross products again, I have 12 times 5 is equal to 1 times x. 12 times 5 is 60, so they would be 60 inches tall. It is 20 feet between me and the television. How many yards is that? So once again, we're doing feet and yards. So 3 feet is 1 yard. In this case, they give us the feet. So I want to know 20 feet is how many yards. So now I'm going to do my cross products. We have 3 times x has to equal 1 times 20. So 3 times the number has to equal 20. So since I don't actually know what 3 times what equals 20, I can do my division. So I'm going to do 20 divided by 3. 3 goes into 26 times, which is 18, with 2 left over. So that would be 6 2/3 yards. Alright, on the last one, you're 54 inches tall and you want to convert to feet. So we have 12 inches again is 1 foot, and that has to equal 54 inches is how many feet. Cross products, 12 times x has to equal 54 times 1. 12x equals 54. Oops. So since I don't know what times 12 equals 54, I'm going to do my division. So 54 divided by 12 goes in 4 times, which is 48. 54 minus 48 is 6. So we have 6 twelfths left over, which is 1/2. So it would be 4.5 feet tall. Make sure you leave a question or a comment on Edmodo when you're all done with this, and we will go through this any questions you have tomorrow.